There are some weapons that constitute crimes against humanity, even when used in war. When they are used, their effects can last even after they have been used. This is something that no country wants. That is why countries have united and banned these weapons all over the world. While you subscribe to my channel, I explain the weapons that are banned all over the world. Don't forget to watch the video to the end and share your thoughts in the comments. First on our list is Blinding Laser Weapons Terminator 2. Remember the beginning of Doomsday, when Skynet was doing everything it could against the last human resistance? Those weapons weren't just in the movies. In 2020, the US conducted a test by shooting down an airplane in mid-flight with a laser weapon. But know that these lasers can do more than just destroy things. They can detect your unique heartbeat from 600 feet away. But of course, there are rules about laser weapons. There is a protocol from the 1980 Convention on Certain Conventional Weapons. This protocol says that you can't build lasers just to blind people with the naked eye. Some countries go beyond these limits for research. In 1990, the US toyed with two-handed laser weapons that could blind targets in war.
Laser.
It's all experimental at the moment, but there's no guarantee that the rules won't be followed in the future. Second on our list is chemical weapons. They are designed to harm large numbers of people at once and destroy things like buildings, nature, and living creatures. Using crazy toxic chemicals, these weapons can wipe out enemies, destroy plant hideouts, and even harm animals to starve people. They are similar to biological weapons in that they are difficult to control once they are released. They can spread as solids, gases, or liquids, and can disturb anyone nearby. They can be released from airplanes, rockets, and even remote-controlled containers. Since 1993, there has been a global rule called the Chemical Weapons Convention, which says that chemical weapons and the materials needed to make them cannot be produced, stockpiled, or used. But there have still been terrorist attacks, such as the sarin gas attack on the Tokyo subway in 1995. And many countries are still keeping these weapons around, they say, in case someone else tries to use them first. Third on our list is landmines. There are two types of landmines: anti-personnel and anti-vehicle. Anti-personnel ones are sneaky little explosives planted underground or on the surface. If you step on one or get too close, they go boom. Introduced in the Second World War, these mines have caused trouble in many conflicts since then. The Vietnam War, the Korean War, the First Gulf War, you name it. And the worst thing? They destroy everything in their path, indiscriminately. The survivors go through hell. Multiple surgeries, rehabilitation, and the emotional toll of losing a limb. Financially and emotionally very difficult. To address this mess, the Anti-Personnel Mine Ban Treaty was signed in March 1999. This treaty bans the production, use, stockpiling, and transfer of landmines. So far, 133 signatures have been collected, and a global ceasefire on new mine production has been imposed. More than 40 million stockpiled mines have been destroyed, and survivors in vulnerable areas are being helped. Fourth on our list is biological weapons. Biological weapons are basically nasty germs or toxins designed specifically to confuse, injure, or take out targets. They can be viruses, bacteria, fungi, or even insects, and when they work, they can cause serious damage to a lot of people. These weapons may take a while to work, but when they do, things can get really bad. Some of these agents, like Ebola and smallpox, are super contagious and can spread from person to person. There have been some messed up incidents, like during the French and Indian Wars, when smallpox-tainted blankets were given to tribes in hopes of sparking outbreaks. Fortunately, smallpox hasn't occurred naturally since 1977, and there have been no reports of Ebola being used for bioterrorism, because they're hard to detect and can end up affecting innocent people. The use of biological weapons was banned in 1972 by the Biological Weapons Convention. It's like how landmines and cluster bombs were restricted under the Geneva Convention. The BWC says no production, use, stockpiling, or transfer of these nasty weapons. The BWC even says that the use of biological weapons is repugnant to the conscience of mankind. About 184 countries have signed it as of May 2022. But hey, defensive research on this stuff is still going on, trying to figure out how to protect against these threats without making them. Fifth on our list is napalm. It's a fiery mix of gelling agent and volatile petrochemical. A nasty combination that sticks to targets and burns like crazy, reaching temperatures of up to 1200 dg, 2690 dgF. This stuff is no joke. It causes severe burns, suffocation, and can knock you out or worse. The US dropped the first napalm bomb on Berlin in March 1944, destroying a whopping 2,100 square meters. It was a nightmare for enemies holed up in bunkers and tunnels. Napalm could sneak in and light things up. But Vietnam changed the game. The world saw the horrors of napalm. Forests ablaze, villages destroyed, and the haunting image of 9-year-old Phan Thi Kim Phuc fleeing a napalm attack. Her body covered in burns. Public outcry led by people like the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King and civil rights leaders forced a ban on the use of napalm against civilians in 1980. But when it comes to military targets, the UN Convention on Conventional Weapons gets a little fuzzy in Protocol 3. Sixth on our list is balloon bombs. In 1944-1945, Japan decided to get smart during the Second World War and launched more than 9,000 balloon bombs at the United States. These were not high-tech devices. They were basically hydrogen or helium-filled balloons carrying bombs or incendiary devices. Japan's plan was to let the wind carry these balloons across the Pacific and wreak havoc on the United States. Only 300 made it across the ocean. But on May 5, 1945, a tragic event occurred in Oregon. A family stumbled upon one of these balloons, not realizing it was dangerous. The balloon exploded, killing a woman and her 5 children, the only enemy-caused death on American soil during the war. To prevent people from being scared, the military suppressed reports of these incidents. They then warned people to be wary of strange white balloons. The whole mess reminded everyone why such weapons should be banned. Seventh on our list is flamethrowers. Flamethrowers, those fiery beasts of war past, were pretty effective against bunkers and trenches. But they weren't without their flaws. Sure, they could engulf enemies in flames, but the weight they carried made operators easy targets. And with limited fuel, running out was only a matter of time. These things were no joke. Like napalm, they could cause severe burns and even death. That's why Protocol 3 put some serious restrictions on their use. No firing them into civilian areas or torching forests unless you were sure military targets were hiding there. Because of these risks and restrictions, flamethrowers have become a thing of the past in modern warfare. They're more of a tool these days. Funny enough, they're perfectly legal in the US. Remember Elon Musk's Boring Company flamethrowers? Yep, those were a hit. But now they're more for fun than combat. Eighth on our list is cluster bombs. Imagine a container full of mini-bombs. Yes, that's a cluster munition. They come in grenades, rockets, or missiles and are fired from guns or launchers. The thing is, these bombs aren't accurate at all. They spread out over huge areas. The scary part? Up to 40% of them don't explode on impact. It's like setting a booby trap just waiting to go off. These leftover bombs, sitting in the ground for years after a conflict, are literally ticking time bombs. They're like landmines, ready to wreak havoc even after the fighting is over. Take Laos as an example. The fighting stopped a long time ago, but these unexploded bombs are still killing and injuring civilians, mostly children. It's heartbreaking. Most of the casualties are innocent civilians, not soldiers. But here's the good news. In 2010, a treaty called the Convention on Cluster Munitions came into effect. It's like a big no-no to make, use, or stockpile these cluster bombs now, and over 120 countries are on board to clean up the mess and help the victims. It's a step toward making things right and preventing more tragedies caused by these deadly remnants.